Hello, my lovelies. I know it's been a really long time since I last spoke with you, since I last shared a video. And today I was really feeling my way back into this very personal winter that I have been in, and to start to share gently the learnings, the medicine I have gathered while in this long winter. So we have personal seasons. I believe that we have our seasons in nature: spring, summer, autumn, winter. But there are times in our own human life, in our own personal felt sense, that we come into a winter. Some people may title this or label this depression because it's easy to straight away define it and label it as that. But I believe that we can't be in a constant state of spring and summer and out there and sharing in the world and showing up for others and bright and glossy, that we have these transitions in life, be it grief, loss, a transition in motherhood, which was personal for me, an end of a relationship, an illness, an end of a job. These spaces in our lives where we need to come back and withdraw from often the external world and our routines and our structures, and let them fall away and allow ourselves to truly immerse into the feelings we are having, without wanting to hurry to rescue ourselves or to make better, to fix. We have this, if someone says they're feeling low or someone says they're feeling quiet, we have this instant reaction that there's something wrong with that person, and we want to, get on our white horse and go in and pull them out for a cup of tea and pull them out for a cup of coffee and take them for a cake and take them for a walk. So we're drawing, or we feel that we have to get on and still be social, or still answer the phone, or still answer emails, or still show up for family, friends, our workspace. So we can pull ourselves out as well. And the more and more we pull ourselves out of our own winter before we are ready, the more winter hangs around, because there's something rich, such rich, nourishing wisdom in what appears to us to be darkness, where we get to reset, we get to nurture, we get to nourish, we get to deeply listen to ourselves, and we get to really feel if we choose to. But as I said, often there'll be this idea that those feelings are wrong or bad, or grief is limited to a time and space, and we should be over that by now. So we time things, we limit ourselves, as do others. Are you not over that by now? And we see it as that we're broken when we are in these spaces. But as life goes through its seasons, we will go through these seasons of peaks and valleys. And the valleys are as rich and as beautiful as the peaks. But it's our making these valleys wrong that make them undesirable and make us feel that that's not where we should be. And so we either try and pull ourselves up out, or we allow others to try and pull ourselves up. And the word try there's this trying, so it's a force to make something other than what is true for ourselves right now. So I feel this is really important, to allow ourselves, regardless of what culture and society says, these times of winter, even if it is a few days, and the more and more we push ourselves out of our winter, the longer they hang around, because we haven't taken that invitation to step down and in and really, really listen to what then wants to arise in the spring. And it is mainly because things like grief and loss and death and divorce are all things that we want to try and suppress or hide away or hurry up and get over with to that happy space. We can't be in a constant state of spring and a constant state of summer and glossy and vibrant and alive and sociable and out there. It's not healthy for our nervous system. It's not true to our nature. It's not nourishing for our soul. So how do we go about this? The first step would always be self-permission, to notice where we are pushing ourselves from a sense of this here, what I'm feeling is wrong. I should be going out. I should be answering the phone. I should be answering emails. I should be happy. I should be glossy. I should be this. So noticing where we are imposing those messages upon ourself, and noticing that isn't kindness to self, and letting those go. And also noticing where others are saying, I really think you should go to the doctor, or why don't you get yourself out and meet your friends or something. Wintering can be a very unsociable time, and that's okay. If we have these constant voices around us, how can we truly listen to the voice within us, and what this has shown up to share with us, to teach us? And I believe these transitions of winter is how we really grow, how we really evolve. And because they've been made so wrong, and that it means we need fixing, that there's something broken in us because we're not out there, that we fear going in to these spaces of darkness. But if we think about the soil, the soil is dark, and it's where the seeds germinate and then come up in the spring. Our nature is no different to nature, and the more and more we force ourselves against nature, the more and more we force ourselves against our self. So self-permission is really important. Where can I call myself back? Where can I pull myself away from out there and come in? And I turned my phone off for 9 days, and it was as if to some people it was like the end of the world. What, you turned your phone off? But it was really important to me, and I learned that the phone was habitually there for me to answer to, or to get on Google, and the pinging and the ponging and the ringing, and this pull. It was a pull away from myself. So just giving myself permission to turn my phone off. It's not the end. It's not the end of the world. And yet the world has become that we always need to be contactable, reachable, out there. And if we're not, then we must be low. Granted, at the beginning of my wintering, there was a lot of, I suppose, what you would call lowness, there was grief and there was loss, but change in what has become normal creates that, especially if we've suddenly had a change, such as a loss of someone we love. But it was important to attend to that. Again, I said grief has it's not limited by time and space, and yet we are told, you can have 2 weeks off to grieve the end of the relationship, to grieve a person, to grieve an illness. But we can't define and we can't squash our feelings and how they want to move in us and through us into these limited spaces of time. And this is really important, to give ourselves what we need and what we know we need, rather than what we should do or we think we should do. So these are all ways of self-permission that this is how I am feeling. But then on the flip side of that, it's noticing where we are moving into wallowing and where the wallowing is okay. And just ensuring that we become our own parents. So not parent as in we're forcing ourselves, but we're really listening, because otherwise we can get stuck. We can get stuck in our winter. But winter will start to slightly shift, and there'll be an edge that we feel I feel inspired, or I have this feeling to do. I have this feeling to go for a walk. I have this feeling to have a conversation with. I have this feeling to create. So when we go into this winter, it's more these feelings become impulses of when we're ready to start emerging. Like today, I felt this feeling that this afternoon I was going to carve time because I felt ready to speak, that I feel ready to, there's this readiness, this knowingness, this wanting, this desire to come and share, to come and speak, to come and meet. And it really shows me as well where when we have that authenticity of a feeling of how many times where we forced ourselves to speak, to be somewhere, we truly are not feeling the desire or the longing to be. So it's not this sinking down and this wallowing and creating a label, a container around it. Labels define. For me, if we give something a label, then we've killed it. We've shoved it in a jam jar, we've defined it as this, and there's no pulsation, there's no life to it. So this is how it is. This is what it is. And spending time listening to oneself by maybe, for me, I picked up pen and paper. It's heart hands, it's an expression. You may want to type, you may want to paint, you may want to find another medium like clay. But this being able to express and speak with oneself. So I have written realms and realms and realms of paper, and they don't have to make sense, and I don't have to go back and read them, and I don't have to analyze them, and I don't have to make them wrong or shame them or fix. It's simply an expression, and from this expression, and the heart hands, as I call them, our hands are attached to our heart through some kind of medium. I feel that our personal winter gives us permission to know ourselves a little deeper, in a more full way. If we're constantly moving from A to B without pausing to know ourselves in A, and then, or now I'm in B, Who am I? How do I feel? How does this look? How do I want to meet this? Then there's an emptiness there. And sometimes that transition from A to B is going to take time. So I spoke about grief. For me, the transition was all my children leaving home. And so that transition so there's who I've been as a mother from the age of 18. And now here I am. It was 48 at the time, 48, with no children. Who am I? And that's a big transition from, mother to a different kind of mothering, or wife to not a wife, or husband to not a husband. And we expect ourselves to instantly morph into the new, and we can't. It's not a can't as an impossibility. It's just who is behind that, who is in the skin, who is in the bones, who is in the flesh, who is in the breath, who is in the heart. And so it's taking time to know ourselves. We knew ourselves as we were then, before the loss of a loved one, a partner, before our children leave home. And now we need to take time to know who we are now, and how this new us is going to express ourselves in the world and play and create. So that's where I've been. This winter came from the beginning of the first lockdown. So the last children leaving home, I moved to a new home at the same time, and we went into lockdown, so we couldn't see each other. And also I was moving away from a ex-relationship that had been in the environment a long time. So that's a lot to withdraw from and come into a new space. And because there was this wanting to still show up for other people, though I wasn't really showing up for myself. And so I was aware of the winter, but also in denial of the winter. So a push-pull, 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 until it came to a time when there wasn't a choice. I had to go into winter. I had to respect that, honour that, to truly find my place, my sense of belonging in this new space. And so this winter has really been a 2-year winter. But if I had to control and define that and limit that to 2 weeks, then I would have not truly emerged as I'm emerging now. There would be pieces that I'd left behind, things I hadn't dealt with, things I hadn't really truly felt. And the riches that have come from being in winter, the new wisdom, the way of being with myself, being with others, attending to the body, being with my body, being with trauma, how that moves through us, has all developed by giving myself this permission to nurture, to nourish, to listen, to be with. And that may appear unsociable, and that may appear low, and that may appear as depression and all the other things, but it's what we need. It's what we need in our personal winter. And that is not wrong, and that is not selfish, and that is not something we ought to shame and suppress or try and fix. It's right. It's what we need in that time in our lives to evolve, to grow, and to always come back to the authenticity of who we truly are in that moment, rather than coming from should and be and must and all those other forces of opinions and words and habitual doings that we have in this world. So gradually, over the next few weeks, I will start to share with you some little more of my time in the winter, and this time of allowing an emergence from winter back into the world, so into my personal spring, but maybe at the same time as spring. And again, it's not that, wow, I'm ready, and then shocking our system or my system in from that to that. And because again, it's not nature, there is an emergence, and it may be so subtle, so delicate, so refined, but it's not noticeable. But also that means that our nervous system can slowly adapt. Our way of being, our way of talking, our way of sharing, our way of expressing, our way of loving, our way of touching can slowly begin to resonate and fit and be true in the world around us.